Going live, going live. Johnny 5 is alive. What's going on, guys? Tully Television back here. Let's fix this lighting a little bit. There we go. How's everyone doing? I hope I can find everyone in wonderful, wonderful spirits. And if not, I hope that this can bring you some happiness today. Um, September 16th, 2021 today. And yeah, it's been a little while. It's been a couple weeks, I think, guys, since I last did a stream. And just been really busy with family things. And yeah, so I'm here tonight. Excuse me, I'm going to be chowing down a little bit with my bottle of water and a couple of these White Castle burgers here. But tonight, I'm going to talk about some of my uh, favorite 80s properties or 80s properties that were famous at the time that others may like or may not have liked. um, yeah, damn, I've got to get a better camera. But yeah, before we go on though, I want to say thank you for everyone for stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing all that beautiful stuff. If I have yet to earn your subscription, hit that red subscribe bar down below, hit all on that notification bell so you never miss a future episode of Tully Television. I let's see what's on the upload list for. I uploaded a retro blast yesterday of Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. If you have yet to see that, go check out the channel Tully Television. Goodness, sorry, I'm very distracted tonight. Maybe I should I'm gonna put a link down in the chat for that for the Back to School Retro Blast. I also got to talk to Tim today about he's been busy, but he said that he's going to get to 3 episodes of the What If series that I did, and then I'll start videotaping the other ones, doing the other What If episodes, and then let's see, and then I'm gonna take it from there because I have a couple other little things that I want to try to record and get to. But I also want to say happy birthday to my mother because I put a link in the chat for the retro blast of Back to School. Being I figured everyone was going back to school, I might as well do the retro blast on that. But yeah, today's my mother's birthday. She passed a few years ago to a tough battle with cancer, and days like this kind of makes me miss her a whole lot more. But you know how that goes. Those of you who've had parents who passed on already, if you're close or kind of close with them, you kind of know how these days feel. Or days that, or even if you have love for someone and they pass on, certain days make it harder. And today was a hard one for me. Today was a hard day for me. I didn't even want to do this, but being I hadn't been on a stream for a couple weeks, and I hadn't really got a chance to upload too much the last couple weeks, I figured that I should do this. My mother would get a hoot out of this whole YouTube thing, because she would tell you, man, I've been uh, basically reading comic books since I was a kid. Um, she'll let you know I was watching movies and obsessing over every little detail of movies and actors and stuff like that. Um, as far as obsessing over actors, as I got older, I kind of realized that that was silly to do. Um, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you know the person behind like on the screen. Um, I'll use an example of that, someone that everyone knows, or most Americans know at least. Like, let's say Leonardo DiCaprio, right? It's easy to, just because you watch all of his movies, right, and you um, watch the things he does in the news, or you watch interviews and clips of him and behind the scene things of his movies and stuff, doesn't mean that you actually know Leonardo DiCaprio. You just know what's he's allowing you to see, what the news media is allowing you to see. So, I mean, it's fun to have favorite actors. I have favorite actors. I have favorite musicians. But you have to realize they're good at their job, and that doesn't make them a great person, or it doesn't make them a bad person. It just makes them a person that has a job that they do well in, and certain people do really well with their jobs. But today, um, I want to talk a little bit about the 80s. Certain movies, shows, cartoons that came out during that decade and made an impact on me or people or culture in a general sense, and don't feel bad if I didn't mention a movie that you like. Uh, yeah, I did movie. I think the only category I didn't cover uh, is music, because with the amount of stuff I got going on, it's kind of like, yeah. Um, but yeah, like for instance, some of the movies that came out in the 80s, like if you compare, I know this is going to sound like the age old generational gap type of thing where, oh, in my day, in my time, it was better than today. And you kids listen to stupid music and watch stupid shows. And yeah, we used to get it back in the day too, back in the 80s and 90s. Um, Parents, like Will Smith said, parents just don't understand. And really, it's not supposed to be for us to understand as we get older. Each generation should have their thing that they go back on and look back at nostalgia, even if it's rose tinted glasses. And you can admit that, yeah, it's a bit cornball what I used to watch, but this made an impression on me because of X, Y, and Z reason. And I have yet to find really any other time period except for maybe the 90s, because the 90s music scene really boomed with the hip hop and rap and stuff like that. Outside of that, and some of the shows in the 90s too that carried over from the 80s to the 90s. But I have yet to see uh, a longer lasting decade than the 80s, maybe the 60s, um, because I have come across younger people that know who Jimi Hendrix is, may know who some of these older artists are. Maybe they don't know who Cream is. You know what I mean? But there's some younger people that have a knowledge of the '60s music. Um, but yeah, the '80s has really been a decade where I feel like it's really carried over. I don't really see too many remakes of movies from the '50s and '40s and '60s and '70s too much, as opposed to them trying to reach into that decade of the '80s. And maybe it's because the people who were kids during the '80s are, the demographic now of being able to be subliminally merchandised too. You know what I mean? Like if you look at Stranger Things, that's from it takes place in the '80s. Some other shows will have very nostalgic feels to the '80s, and there's a reason for it. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I grew up in a rough household, and uh, movies and cartoons and shows really got me through those times. Even today, comic books. You know what I mean? Um, I really didn't get into comic books until close to late 80s. 88, 89 is when I really started getting into comic books. I was like 12 or 13 at the time. Um, but yeah, as I was younger, some of these shows really helped instill to me what was right, what wasn't right. Um, it helped me learn complex uh, ideas like not everyone who's good is going to do good things. Not everyone who is bad is going to do bad things. You're going to get good people that do bad things, and you're going to get bad people who do good things. And it really uh, set forth the mindset of, everyone's got a story, and you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to like what they say, but everyone's got something of interest to say. You can learn something from everybody, even people who you think are jailbirds or in jail for this or that. They even have something to teach you down the road, as far as even if it's you're a criminal and you're like, all right, I won't do that to get caught again. You know what I mean? Or you're a person who's trying to teach a younger kid, like, look at that, man. Look what could happen to you if you get into X, Y, and Z, hanging out with the boys on the streets, say slinging rock or trying to, be pickpocket or cat burglar or something like that. Um, Most of the time, people get caught. You know what I mean? Very hardly do you ever get like a real true mastermind of criminal activity that never winds up getting a record. Even Al Capone wound up getting taken down for tax fraud. That was the only thing they were able to take him down for. But they got him. They got him. And he was one of the roughest bastards to ever run. Like children died during his reign of terror. Reign of terror, if you want to call it that. Cops and stuff. And maybe people don't look too highly on cops these days. That's uh, a subject that is not for this channel, but um, yeah, back in the day, that was really like a no-no. You don't go after cops. You don't go after women. You don't go after kids. But sometimes, kids would get caught in the crossfire of these types of things, and you know, he only got taken down for tax fraud. But mm, but here are some movies from the 80s that I think that have definitely made an impact. And again, I'm probably going to miss quite a number of these. Um, 80s started the blockbuster movie era, plus the remakes of the 50s and 70s were made in the early 90s. You're right. Horror movies are really the only movies you can update and remake it without overhauling the narrative. That's true, Tim. That's true. I forgot kind of like the early 90s being like a throwback to the 50s and 70s. Um, because I'll be honest with you, once I hit high school, um, my high school years were 91 to 95. I graduated in 95, and that uh, I was really like out more, hanging out with friends, and the music was really my thing at the time. I was really big into uh, East Coast, West Coast, uh, Tupac versus Biggie, um, Wu Tang Clan, Mary J. Blige. Uh, like in the 80s, I was really into rock, and I still love my rock and roll today. But I seen how like my family would not let me listen to early rap. You know, I had to sneak it. You know, I had to like buy mixtapes from this kid in junior high to kind of like play my Walkman uh, or at the house. Slick Rick, you know, these type of acts. My family. I was going to say my parents. My dad wasn't around, but my mother was very. You listening to that jungle music, and my grandfather is like, "Why are you listening to those people?" And but he wasn't so nice about it. Uh, so it made me even really more like, "What is this? What? I know I'm tapping into something." You know, the authority don't like it. I like that. Um, yeah, so like the early '90s to I didn't really catch up on a lot of that movie stuff until later on in the '90s, like later '90s. Um, the '90s had some good stuff too. I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of because I think you're right. The one thing I can really think of for sure with '90s movies was that Adam Sandler movie where it's him in jail with the prisoners, and they do the football game against the guards. I know that was a remake of a Burt Reynolds movie from back in the day. Uh, there's probably some other movies I'm obviously forgetting, but some of the movies that made their way still that are parodied uh, still to this day. Number one I have is Scarface. All right. Now, I'm not saying I watched this movie when it first came out, but Longest Yard. Yes, The Longest Yard. That I definitely knew that when you mentioned the 50s to 70s movies, that clicked in my head when I was thinking the 90s because I was like, who was big in the 90s? And Adam Sandler got really big in the 90s, and I preferred Waterboy. Waterboy is one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. Longest Yard was good. It was good. No harm, no foul on that. Uh, Sometimes Adam Sandler, I've noticed, is a hit or miss as he's gotten older. Like Uncut Gems was Chef's Kiss, but that Hubie Halloween movie was like, oh Adam, why? You don't have to make these silly movies anymore. I was a big Adam Sandler fan back in the day. Though I used to buy CDs. There was this one character he would play. I think he was called Whitey. you know, Oh, was it? See, now I'm totally. So I totally missed that by a decade. I don't know why I thought that was the '90s. I'm gonna have to look up Now, 90s movies that were remakes from then for next week. Hey, Fernando, what's going on, brother man? Brother man, Fernando. But, yeah, Scarface is still parody to this day. Um, there was this wrestler, Scott Hall, who uh, was working for WWF at the time, and they wanted him to do like a G.I. Joe gimmick. Okay. And he didn't want to do that. He was like, if that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do. I'll play the G.I. Joe guy. But he was like, instead of doing that, how about if I play a character like this? And he described the Tony Montana character from Scarface. And Vince McMahon had never seen the movie at all. He didn't even know what was being referenced. And he was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. That's gold. And so that's how that Razor Ramon character came to be. And why it was so Tony Montana-esque was because the person, Scott Hall, who played that character, drew inspiration from that. And Vince never even knew who Scarface was. But that would be probably the only type of people who wouldn't know who Scarface was or the movie. That was a remake, actually, from the 50s, but concentrated on Al Capone instead of Tony Montana, a Cuban refugee played by, I think, an Italian guy. Go figure. That would be problematic. Not that you're trying to make a movie about a Cuban immigrant, but if you don't have a Cuban immigrant being played by a Cuban immigrant, you know what I mean? That would be the problematic part of today's world in entertainment. Back then, you can kind of get away with, uh, hiring some Italian guy to play a Latin guy or uh, hiring this person to play that type of person. Yes, the NWO took over WCW. That was such a great storyline, and he was the first one to kind of start the invasion. So he kind of had a big part. He carried a lot on him, a lot of pressure. Scott Hall, and he is the best non-heavyweight champion to never hold the title. Best wrestler to never hold the title. Him and Roddy Piper are up there for me for best non-world champion wrestlers. Scott Hall was a great worker, and part of his success comes from Scarface, and that really would never thought Hulk Hogan would join. From what I hear, Hulk Hogan was pretty close to not. Uh, he was pretty close to not doing it because he didn't think it was going to work out. That's why they were ready to have Sting come out in his place, but he came out and did it. One of the rare good things he's done in his life. The fucking guy. I'm more of a macho man, Randy Savage. You don't understand there, Hogan. The top. Wait. The best always rises to the top like the cream that it is. Me and Miss Elizabeth. My throat dies every time I try to do a Macho Man. You have to get me early to do a whole Macho Man promo. No, they weren't playing. Wrestling was great back then. I loved wrestling back then, and I know that a lot of the ladies' stuff could have been different. Maybe not have Trish Stratus barking around like a dog in her lingerie. Maybe a little uncalled for national television to look back and have to explain that to your kids. Like, well, mommy worked for this company, and her boss made her, wear a thong and bark like a dog on national TV. Wonder if she regrets that in hindsight, but we all regret certain things done, and none of us made millions of dollars off of it either. So, kudos to her for her able to get through that. Let's see. Die Hard. Die Hard was yeah, Macho Man. Yeah, man, Macho Man. He literally was my favorite wrestler growing up. I knew that I just enjoyed Macho Man really, really good. The way he would present himself, uh, like he was. I mean, he would get crazy with the promos and like I'm gonna kick your ass and stuff. But even when he wasn't talking, he was a very intimidating force. You know what I mean? And to hear the people talk about him that that would work with him on the wrestling, he was the sweetest guy outside of the business. I would say the only thing that was maybe Macho Man's greatest downfall for me was maybe his relationship with Miss Elizabeth, um, who she wound up dying to in a tragic way with drugs and stuff like that. And I think he just loved her so much it drove him mad, and to do things that, in hindsight, you wouldn't want to do. You wouldn't want to be so possessive, so obsessive over your lover. But he was so worried. They did have a lot of ups and downs. He was so to hear it. He was so worried about these other guys coming in and taking advantage of her that he just pushed her into the arms of these people by not letting her kind of learn herself. But everyone's got to learn the hard way sometimes, and uh, I'm sure that hit him hard. And then as he got older, with the throat and everything, and stuff like that, I hope that he just feels like he knows that. I just hope he knows he has fans out here still singing his praises. We all make mistakes, and I can understand how it is to be a brute or perceived to be a brute by the person you love. I'm kind of a tough person to deal with too sometimes, so um, I can totally relate to. But who isn't rough to deal with on occasion? You know? Um, yeah, man, tough thing, and he will always in the eyes of fans, Macho Man. The last thing I'll say about Macho Man, um, the only recast I'd love to see just for Sherry and giggles is Chainsaw, or was it Buzzsaw? Buzzsaw in Spider Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider Man. If they can uh, get someone similar to him for this new Spider Man movie, that would be great. Just to have a throwback to that Tobey Maguire movie that he was in. I thought that was entertaining. It was very Macho Man of him. And then the Slim Jim ads and stuff like that. He was known for that too. And his family is very entrenched in wrestling history. Um, but yeah, Macho Man, my personal favorite of all time. He's my goat. He's my greatest of all time, and no one's ever going to talk me out of that. Definitely better than Hulk Hogan, in my opinion, at least anyway. But some other movies I loved back in the '80s. Ah man, They Live. They Live. My mother did let me watch that one. Uh, without any hassle. That was Roddy Piper with the glasses. For those of you who may be unfamiliar, he sees all the subliminal messaging, sees the aliens, so to speak. The people in control are different, and if you wear these glasses, you're able to see all these things. That movie uh, still rings true today with Big Brother watching. subliminal ads and stuff like that, which I don't know how subliminal they are when we know them, but they still portray it. Bonesaw. Yes. They still Rowdy and yes, Rowdy Piper was the shit too. He was. He was. If anyone came a close second to Macho Man for me, it was him because he didn't give a shit that he came out in what people would call a skirt. Uh, I know it to be a kilt, but skirt, kilt, whatever you want to call it. He didn't care that he came out like that. He was a rough and tumble dude. And the WWF did this show a couple years ago when they still had the WWE network. And it was a bunch of these older dudes living in an older house. Yeah, I know. I know that. That's why I was like, my God, that's so in sync with each other. It's crazy. I was thinking the same thing. Like I just mentioned Roddy Piper. But they did a show on like these older wrestlers, and they had them live together like a Big Brother type of house or Jersey Shore, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That type of formula. But he was very to himself. He kind of was just like what. He just was like a lone wolf all the time. I think the only one that he Undertaker's the shit too, though, Tim. I'm not gonna lie, Undertaker's the shit too. Um, he's lasted so long. Those interviews he gave near the end with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that little documentary he did near the end of his career when they were building up with that AJ Styles match was great. Um, he's one of the last people that took the business serious. He never broke kayfabe, as they call it, or which is you don't ever come out of the character. You're not Mark Calloway. You're the Undertaker, and he always stayed in character, and I give him a lot of credit for that. The Undertaker is the greatest. Sucks the streak ended. It did suck that the streak ended, but that guy's response is a meme to this day of him just like that the guy with the glasses and his eyes are bugging out like, ooh! That face I think is the face that epitomizes the whole thing because I think everyone thought it was a mistake at first. But no, Brock Lesnar, he did it. And Brock Lesnar, he's looking good recently. I like the little long hair, the plaid, the plaid shirts. He's looking pretty good these days. Um, yeah, I thought it was one of those things where he wasn't sure if it was a mistake or not because sometimes those things will occasionally happen, even though it's predetermined. Sometimes mistakes will happen, and I think that was definitely everyone's reaction. Like, oh wait, oh shit, did we just see that? Um, yeah, Brock Lesnar beat the hell out of Roman Reigns. He's gonna beat the shit out of him, but I'm curious on who's gonna win that match when that finally happens. It's a good story though that they're building up between Reigns and Lesnar though. So that match I'm kind of curious to watching and seeing how that comes out. Um, let's see. Man, Back to the Future. Back to the Future was an '80s movie. Back to the Future 1 and 2 came out in the '80s, but the Demon King might win the title. He might win the title, but what will happen maybe is then so Brock Lesnar doesn't. No, because then why have Finn Balor win over Roman Reigns? What may happen is Finn Balor may lose, and they might make it a triple threat match. and then they might make Brock Lesnar pin Finn Balor, so then Roman Reigns still looks strong and didn't get pinned, and then they can go back to Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. That's probably going to be something along those. They're going to have Finn Balor in that, and then have someone pin Finn Balor, so the other one isn't like, "Oh, you didn't pin me! You didn't pin me! You gotta give it to me! You gotta give me the match!" You know, but yeah, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. Uh, but Back to the Future, man. Back to the Future was a big time movie for me. Uh, I thought that was very entertaining. I loved of course, the whole concept of time traveling after that. I always was interested in how that happens, like that's where I really started thinking about these time paradoxes, you know, where you go back in time, right? It's like the grandfather paradox. You go back in time and you kill your grandfather to prevent your birth. But if you are successful in killing your grandfather and you're never born, then how are you born to go back in time to kill your grandfather? So I think that as far as the time traveling thing is concerned, certain things uh, we're never really going to know until we see time travel, uh, discovered or done. Um, or does it what or even if you do kill your grandfather, then it creates an alternate reality where it changes your path. Damn, how the Hulk describe that? Where you create an alternate reality where you're not in that reality, but you're in the reality that you came from, and now your past is the same, but now you're stuck there, and your future is going to be different. Um, yeah, it's hurting my head already. Hurting my head already. What happens when you do something like when I loved when Cody in Endgame, Cody Rhodes, Rhodey, was saying, "Why don't we just go back in time and baby Thanos?" And everyone was like, "Oh, come on, you want to kill a baby?" But yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with Hitler. You go back in time and you kill Hitler as a baby, whatever. Here's was my response to that whenever people would get uptight. Why would you kill a baby, right? Even if it's a Hitler baby, he didn't do anything yet. Here's then what you do: you just totally prevent Hitler's parents from fucking, you know, for that month, and then there you go. And then if he's born a month or two later after that, maybe that was enough of a change for him to then lead a different outcome of life. Or you just totally break up the parents somehow. Yeah, you set it up where the parents are together, and Hitler's never born. Period. From that, and then you don't have to kill any babies. There's no baby killing zone. But yeah, Back to the Future was always the bee's knees for me. Then we got one of the best action movie rivalries of all time between the two top action stars of that time period. We have Terminator that came out that decade in the 80s, and that has worn a bit thin over the years. Uh, Terminator 1 and 2 was excellent. Terminator 3 was doable, serviceable. But anything after that is kind of like, come on, guys. Christian Bale, that Terminator stuff was good. It was good, but yeah, it's just not gonna. Some things are just never meant to be the same. Um, and then we got Rambo: First Blood, which I think was just called First Blood, and then they named it Rambo after the second, like from the second one on. However, the Rambo series, I will say, I enjoyed that last Rambo movie that came out a few years ago, where he was living on a farm with some older Latin lady and some younger. Um, Back to the Future recast, Tom Holland as Marty. You know, that could work. Jeff Goldblum is. That's an automatic yes, yes. Tobey Maguire as George, yes. Yo, John Cena's Biff. Oh my God, bro. Yes, and Elizabeth Olsen as Lorraine. Actually, I could see that working. I can see that work. I'm not big on uh recasting. I mean, there's really no more original ideas, really, but yeah, that cast definitely could. That cast could definitely work. I could. Oh my God, Jeff Goldblum would be fucking cold in that as the Doc. Holy shit! If you're a Jeff Goldblum fan, there's this show that was on very early on in the Disney Plus and Disney Plus app, where it's Jeff Goldblum doing different things like uh, going and learning about the sneaker culture, all right, and then going and learning about the bling bling world, you know, the jewelry and stuff. And um, one episode was him learning about RVs and stuff like that, and it's really an entertaining thing. Uh, there was an episode about ice cream and like how everyone comes to when it's ice cream and forget about it, everyone fucking goes bananas for ice cream. I know I go bananas, but yeah, man, yeah, Jeff Goldblum is the fucking bee's knees for me, you know. Uh, Hold on, one moment, just let my brother know something real quick because I had texted him earlier about you know checking in on him. But yeah, Jeff Goldblum. I love Jeff Goldblum. I would I that alone would sell me. You know what I mean? um, but yeah, Terminator and Rambo. Those movies were really set the tone for the action films to come. Like I said, I the Rambo one. The Rambo movie, the last Rambo movie, I hope that is the last Rambo movie because at this point it's like, come on. But he was living on a farm with some elderly Latin lady and a younger Latin girl, college age or something. And she wanted to go and see her father in Mexico. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't because, you know, he's such a dweeb or whatever, which they weren't calling him a dweeb, but he left the mother and her years ago, and then the mother must have died, and then the grandmother or aunt and John Rambo was basically raising her, you know, on this farm. She decides to go against their wishes and goes to Mexico, and she winds up meeting with a cousin and meets the father, but the cousin kind of sells her into a human trafficking ring down there, and Rambo tries to go save her, but she winds up dying. He goes down there and kills one of the main guys that was behind it, to then get the other main guy behind it to come chase him up in the States. And he goes to town, kills like 15, 20 dudes. And at the end, and it's really brutal. It's really perfect end to Rambo. You know what I mean? We don't really need to have any more Rambo movies after that. I really hope he does kind of just more laid back. I don't need to see him beating people up at 70 and 80 years old. I like to kind of see him do other parts, um, because I think he has the chops for it. A lot of people don't. Well, a lot of people always, joke on him because of the old age. We did it, and thinks he's a dum dum, but he's not a dum dum, man. Yeah, Rambo, blood thinners. When the Viagra don't help, they were talking about Rambo. So come on, they need to relax. They need to relax for Rambo. Like, I like how they did the Rocky series. I like how they transitioned from Rocky to Creed, and it made sense. The story made sense because um, there's a reason why the story is progressing now. You know what I mean? It's not. I was gonna call that character Rambo, but it's not Rocky getting into the ring. It's Creed's son getting into the ring. Clever concepts on that, and I'm glad that they were able to do that without Sly necessarily having to feel like he had to step back into the ring or whatever like that. Um, I just don't get why these older men, still try to do these like I'm not saying they're probably healthier and stronger than me. I'm not trying to talk shit. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone can probably kick my ass 3 ways to Sunday, and without breaking a sweat. But I just never get, like, you spent all these years and you made all this money, man. Take it easy. Right. He was good as King Shark. Exactly. You can do these other type of movies. When he was doing that quick appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy and King Shark, he's also the Expendables 4. Yeah, the Expendables. The only reason why I let that slide with the old men is because at least it's a group of them. You know what I mean? Where that could be a little bit more believable in my eyes, where you get 5 or 6 guys who have all these decades and hundreds of years of experience combined. They probably could take down a cartel compound on their own or something like that. If you got 5 or 6 guys, they have like 200 years experience in explosive weapons, stealth, and this and that. I can believe that a little bit more as opposed to one old guy taking down 50 guys. It's like, all right, I might as well just eat my popcorn and enjoy, because trying to make sense of this movie isn't going to do me any good. At least with the Expendables, I can more let it slide. Like, all right, it's a group of them. A couple of them may die, but um, but it's kind of like the Fast and the Furious movies. You just have to, at this point, really just let it go and enjoy the movies. Some movies are not really meant to be logical, I guess, or really meant to be nitpicked on. And but it's meta. The next star, in Expendables, or Megan Fox. She's all right. Pierce Brosnan. Okay. Jackie Chan. I'm surprised she wasn't in there sooner than Hulk Hogan. Of course, Hogan's got to get in it. Hogan's got to get in everything. But yeah, I agree, Tim. Very meta, very meta. Sometimes it's really just like You can't think too much into certain things. Um, Before I get into a couple of these little shows from the 80s, one of the last movies I want to talk about that I like, and I have yet to find anyone really that remembers this movie too clearly, or they just kind of remember it, is the movie Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise. And it's very early on in Tom Cruise's career, before he even knew, before I think he even discovered Scientology and stuff like that. Um, and it was about, sorry, it was about his father. He was like an exotic car dealer, and his father left some institution a ton of money when he died, and he wasn't sure why. And he went to go find out, and to only find out that he has a brother named Raymond, played by Dustin Hoffman, and Dustin Hoffman has some sort of form of autism or mental illness, and but very smart with mathematics. And initially, Tom Cruise took him to try to leverage him for the money because he was kind of in debt. And no, Tim, no, Tim. I think the only thing that Clint Eastwood should be doing at 91 is giving Dirty Harrys to young girls and not being Dirty Harry. He's got to give him the Dirty Harry. You know, are you feeling lucky? Thought. No, I think Clint Eastwood should. Oh my God, 91, man. That man is so old. How's he still doing it? How is he still doing it? The money will rejuvenate. It must be sucking in the energy of the youth. That's what it must be. But yeah. So uh, Tom Cruise takes Dustin Hoffman, Raymond, to try to leverage for money. They gain a relationship during the movie, and the reason why it's called Rain Man was because Tom Cruise, as a child, that's what he used to call Raymond. Their brother, obviously brothers. I said that, but being he couldn't say Raymond, he would go Rain Man, Rain Man. And what made the brother have to go into the mental institution was that there's some accidental burning of Tom Cruise in a bathtub, and the mother, Tom Cruise's mother, got a little uppity and wanted him to be sent away. And then that's kind of when Tom Cruise was like, oh, they kind of both got shafted by the father for an obvious mistake. Because the way that Raymond is, he wouldn't intentionally burn a baby like that. He just was an accident. And they wound up gaining a brotherly love and friendship for each other. And he learned how Raymond would communicate love back to him and stuff like that. So, great movie if you've never seen it. One of the more heartfelt stories that came out of the 80s that I felt. Some of the shows that came from the 80s that I love. I mean, there's so many. Alf, 21 Jump Street. Holy shit, Johnny Depp, Richard Grieco. Holy man, there was a lot of wet panties during that time. The A-Team, you got MacGyver, Magnum PI, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Star Trek: The Next Generation was always a staple for my mother and I. When I would come home uh, like as this series went on and I got older and I was able to go out and stay out later, and I would come home with White Castle, and my mother and I would eat White Castles together, watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that's always a good memory to have. I'm having actually had some White Castles just now, eating now. But yeah, that was a little routine for her and I. Knight Rider, The Wonder Years. I mean, the Cosby Show. I don't know if it's still world loved these days. Different World, and then you got Growing Pains. I don't know if I said Full House. You got Degrassi, Silver Spoon, Small Wonder, Fraggle Rock. One of my favorite shows of all time, The Golden Girls. That was my shit. Perfect Strangers. I mean, Balky Bartakamos. Balky. What? He used to say this is ridiculous or something silly. How he would pronounce ridiculous. And Mr. Belvedere, yes, Mr. Belvedere. That I, I always was jealous of that kid because I was like, man, he's got a Mr. Belvedere. I don't got a Mr. Belvedere. I want a Mr. Belvedere. And um, yeah, that show was cute too, man, because it was like it tugs on the heartstrings. You know what I mean? You trying to you know that's why you keep coming back, man. Great stories. I loved the little standalone episodes where they would try to um, teach you a lesson at the end of like if you know a friend who uh, gets touched, you tell this person, or whatever the public service announcement was for the show. There was this one episode of Small Wonder, and that show was based basically on an android girl. Uh, uh, yeah, Small Wonder. But they did an episode where some girl was missing, or um, the father was like moving her around because I think he took her, and she was supposed to be with the mother and stuff. And so they kind of uh, dealt with that. It's hard when parents break up and stuff, and if you know anyone who's missing, call this number and stuff. Like, there was a time in the 80s where the television networks were getting hound dogged by the government to try to add lessons to these shows and cartoons and stuff, and that were geared towards children. I would say that's the show Small Wonder, and yeah, I would say that was definitely geared towards children, or at least a family setting. Um, Alf, Alf, I don't think ever taught you anything other than keep your cat away from Alf. Full House was one of those cheesy cornball shows where you would try to learn something by the end of the episode, um, whatever it may be. And not, if you think about how that show started, that was a pretty dark premise, where the mother of three girls dies in a car accident, and then the two uncles come in to try to help. Um, that show could have been a lot darker, not, than what it was. I'll put it that way. Um, some people, yeah, that some people loved that show. Some people didn't like it. I enjoyed Full House for a while. I enjoyed Full House for a few years. But as I got older, I was like, tastes move on, people move on. Um, Jodie Sweetin, though, holy cow, she grew up to be smoking. Um, Different Strokes special episode, yes. Yeah. Oh my god, I almost forgot about Different Strokes. The Bikeman episode, my guy. Oh my lord, that was I I currently watched that the last few months. Oh my god, the wine and then the taking of the pictures and Dudley might have gotten touched, bro. And no one ever talks about Dudley maybe getting touched in that because they found him with the shirt off and they found him half drunk or with the pills in him or something. And Dudley got traumatized and they never spoke on that, the aftermath of that ever again. The father was like, "We're never going to speak of this ever." Ever! Dudley, ever! But Dad, really fucking never. Never mention it, Dudley. That's probably how it went down. Um, yeah, I remember that episode coming out. Uh, weird story that I'm gonna tell you. A couple weird stories that because that kind of reminded me of it, of these stories. One time, my supermarket was around the corner from where I lived, and I was about 12 or 13, and my mother would occasionally send me to the stores. I don't think so. I don't think Dudley ever came back after that episode. So I wonder if he, you know, something to think about. Maybe he offed himself because of what happened. No one ever talks about what happened to Dudley. I'm telling you. We're gonna have to make a video on this, on what happened to Dudley after the bike episode. Um you know? Yeah, if he did, he had to be awkward for every time afterwards because it was like, as they got older, you would imagine Dudley would consider Arnold like not a good friend for leaving him, um, or kind of helping him, or like introducing him to the guy in the first place. You know, yeah, yeah, uh, very. It would be awkward birthday parties and stuff. Awkward classroom recess sessions. Oh, we're gonna play some kickball today. Are we playing dodgeball today, my guy? You better get ready. You staying small. I'm growing, Arnold. um, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I really wonder what happened to that guy because I don't think he was too much of a character after that. And then you knew the show was getting bad when they introduced the little redheaded kid, and when Mr. Drummond married that lady, and she had a son. Uh, What's her name? I want to say her name was Dixie Carter, but that's totally a wrestling woman's name from wrestling Dixie Carter. So I don't know. I'm bugging. I'm speaking out of my neck. But this is a hot conversation right now. It's like you think about, because think about like how much if Dudley did get touched, right? Think about how much resentment he has towards Arnold for not doing anything. And then what was the impact of that on the father and the family? Did that make his parents split up because the father wasn't watching him? You sent them to that rich man's home and look what happened. That white bastard wasn't watching him. He's probably part of it. Probably broke up the family. Uh, Dudley probably is traumatized for the rest of his life. Uh, his father ignored him. His mother left. He was all alone. He joined the Treyway Bloods. Uh, oh man, poor Dudley. Poor Dudley did not make it out of this one, did he? But yeah, that was. So my mother would send me to the stores on occasion, and this one time, and she would look out the window because our windows would face where kind of I would have to walk. So I'd go, and I was coming back home. My mother noticed this fucking old guy following me, and I kind of felt like a presence of him following me. And by the time I made it to my apartment building, which I'm glad I lived close, my mother had already been downstairs, and she shooed him away and shit like that. So I think she even threw a fucking shoe at him, literally. And he took off, and she was just like, just watch out, for people's son, and just be aware that people do this and that, and da da da. And then the other weird story I'm gonna say, it's a quick downer, but I'm not gonna linger on it. There used to be this creeper that lived in my neighborhood that would, do things to girls, and I knew one of the girls that got kidnapped and stuff happened to, um, and it really fucked her up because then we wound up going to high school together, because this was like 6th to 7th grade, and she was really out there, like doing a lot of stuff that is like, whoa. And I kind of knew what happened because of being in elementary and junior high school with her. But it was the first time I learned the meaning of a word, because they had these wanted posters all over the neighborhood, everywhere. Everywhere they had this wanted poster. Tully joined the Wu-Tang Clan as an affiliate. He's a little Wu. Little Wu. But they had these wanted posters all over the place, right? Wanted for like, kidnapping and, uh, you know, assault, of types. And this one word stuck out to me, and I came home and I asked, what is the word sodomy? You know, and she's like, she's like, where'd you hear that? I was like, it was on a wanted poster for somebody. And she was like, oh, yeah. And then she explained it to me what it was. I was like, oh, people do that to each other? And she's like, yeah. Yeah, they do. I was like, on purpose? She's like, sometimes on purpose. And I was like, people like that? She's like, sometimes people like that. I was like, but I'm assuming that this person didn't like it. She was like, no, this person didn't like it. Thus, the wanted posters, Bart. He's not wanted to do it to more people for fun. He's wanted to make them stop. You know what I mean? I know, right? Jeez, let me have my coffee first. Jesus. Talk about sodomy. Jesus, fucking 7:05 a.m. Fucking eggs ain't even frying on the pan yet. Ugh. But yeah, I'm going to move on. But that was the first time I heard that word and learned what it was, and kind of seeing how those type of actions on somebody can, outside of myself. Um, yeah, that poor girl didn't stand a chance after that, unfortunately. But, thus is life. And I hope she's still around somewhere and has gotten her life together and, has made peace with certain things in her life. Cartoons. 80s cartoons, man. Am I the only one that loved 80 cartoons? Hello. Is this thing on? My personal favorite 80s cartoons. It's not Help Wanted, Bart. It's Wanted, right? Help Wanted. Position to be filled at a later date. However, the prerequisites are Yeah. It's not a help wanted sign. It's not asking for a waitress. It's wanted for cruel and extreme circumstances. Oh my god, it's true though. But yeah, 80s cartoons. That's where my love of 80s first started. Was the cartoons. Uh, you had GI Joe, of course, Transformers, Thundercats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, uh, Thunder, Thunder, um, Smurfs, Silverhawks, Muppet Babies, Gummy Bears, Ninja Turtles, baby. Dungeons and Dragons was one of my favorite fucking cartoons of all time, and I think they did wind up making a final episode for that show. I have yet to be able to. I've yet. I keep forgetting to look up and see if they did, but I think they did. Um, make a last episode of Dungeons and Dragons where they get back home. You got real Ghostbusters. You got Garfield, Heathcliff, um, He Man. If I didn't mention He Man, Care Bears. I loved Care Bears. Not gonna lie. Gummy Bears. Bouncing here and there and everywhere. We are the Gummy Bears. Muppet Babies, if I didn't say that. Gem. I don't care what you heard. Gem was the shit. Gem and the Holograms. It was a shame that that movie was. Um, I'm trying to think if Pee Wee's Playhouse started in the 80s or not. Because I know I was young when the Pee Wee movie came out, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Because I turned 14 in 1990. So I'm trying to remember if Pee Wee's Big Adventure was in the 80s or not, but I remember that being a big movie for me, whether it was the 80s or 90s. The Super Mario Super Show, yes. Yeah, see, I know I'm going to forget certain ones. That just reminded me, though, of the Pac Man show that was on. Um, I thought that was cool. Pac Man, Mr. Pac Man, Baby Pac Man, and they would, have to fight off. Okay, good. That was the 80s then. Yeah, so I'm gonna say Pee Wee's Playhouse. My mother couldn't fucking stand that guy, Pee Wee Herman, the voice and the and then she couldn't get it. 91 was when he got caught jacking it, which in today's world, um, is so non like Paul Rubens. Okay, was stupid for doing that in a way. Okay, I will admit, but we've all been in a nudie booth before. Okay, we all been in a nudie theater before. I don't even know if there's any more nudie theaters anymore like that. There might be some vintage ones still in New York and LA and stuff like that, and major metropolitan areas across the world. Chicago, Dallas, whatever. You might have a vintage um, movie, nudie theater, that shows like, adult movies or whatever. But, I mean, who was so appalled? Who was so appalled at a nudie theater of Paul Rubens fucking jerking his dick that they had to call the cops? I thought the whole purpose of going into those nudie theaters was to kind of like jack off or find someone to help you jack off or um, help someone have sex with you and jack it off. And like I don't understand who went there. I will say on my own, and I've been to a few nudie booths in my life, and It's a crazy scenario to be able to go in there and see like a dancer there behind the plexiglass, and you shove the 10, $20 in there, and she does her thing or whatever, and boom, boom, boom. Um, like we've all been a crazy man on a Friday night, plastered and not caring how you spend your money. um, just for the experience of a New York City all nighter. But yeah, who went to the movie theater? Who went to the adult nudie theater and was so appalled at Paul Rubens jacking his dick that they had to call the cops? It's like you would think that that was kind of the purpose there, or the perverts. You know what they say? If birds of a feather flock together, perverts of a feather flock together. And if I was in a movie theater, a nudie movie theater, and I heard someone jerking off over my shoulder, I might move because I wouldn't want none of the. Uh, I don't want any misfiring to happen. And I'm eating my popcorn, and I'm like, oh, extra butter. But that was gross. Sorry, that was gross. But yeah, I would move. Why would I call the guy? Why would I call the cops on the guy? You know what I mean? I wouldn't do something like that. But that was really an unfortunate downfall for him because I love the Pee Wee Herman character, and um, rumor has it that a lot of those characters on the show were named after adult star names, actresses and actors. I think Cowboy Curtis was one of them. I think Missy Vaughn was one of those names that were like known actors and actresses of the adult film industry. And so that was a little tongue in cheek joke that he would. And then what a father's going to do? You know what I mean? Oh, that's a name of a porno star, and the mother's going to be like, oh, really, 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 Bob? How do you know? Oh, I read it in Ford Esquire. I don't know. I read it somewhere. The Bible. I read it in the Bible. you know, if that's true, kudos for him for getting that by television station execs and stuff. Kudos on him. He did a good part in Blow. I thought he did a great. Had a great part in that movie. Talented guy. I just wish he was more on screen and stuff. He doesn't have to be Pee Wee, but come on, man. Come on, man. Let's get Paul Rubens back. But yeah, man, that was some of my stuff for the '80s that I loved growing up, and that helped shape me. Never Ending Story, another movie, Goonies, Monster Squad, American Tail, Princess Bride, Great Outdoors, Labyrinth. So many. I should do. I love the '80s. I bite off of VH1 and do it. I love the '80s, and do each year. Do 9, 10 videos of each year. Well, not 9 videos of 1981 and then 9 videos of 1982, but do a video for each year, and maybe I could do that. That's an idea to have. But I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for stopping by, commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. It means the world to us here on Tully Television. If you have yet to subscribe, please hit that red subscribe bar down below. Hit all in that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Tully Television. I want us to be the most awesomest, unknown, greatest YouTube channel that's going to be known but is not known yet. But we know each other, and then everyone's going to know us, and then no one is going to not know who we are. Channel. I don't know. But I want to thank everyone who has helped contribute to Tully Television, who's appeared on Tully Television, who has helped this grumpy old man shout to the airwaves on the internet about anything that comes to his mind. It's all much appreciated. Stay tuned, tune in, and stay tuned because we're not stopping, baby. We're not stopping. Let's get to 75 subscribers. That's the next goal. Let's do this, baby, because only together can we go straight to the moon, baby. And until next time, peace, Snookums.